Shalom, shalom, Israel's brothers, Yahweh,
Brother Marquas.
coming back at you with another cold cut through the spirit of power, Yahweh Shem Yahweh. Shalaki for not going live last week through the spirit, man, going into things, killing, but our brothers held that down through the spirit. If you watched the Monday Night Fire, went into things killing, went into the aspects of what things killing was and why you shouldn't celebrate it through the spirit. So if you missed that, go on the Watchman for Israel page and you'll see the history behind Gad fighting Esau, and the history of how that high holy day was established in America, and why you shouldn't celebrate that with your auntie, your cousins, and your uncles through the spirit. So this week we're tackling Imperial Rome, right? The Roman Empire had 4 to 5 different parts of it. It wasn't just the Roman Empire. It was different parts of the Roman Empire, that were breaking down into sections, so you can get a better understanding through the spirit, right, of how it was ran, who ran it, who lived during that time, and etc. The brother Naquam did a live review on it through the spirit. I encourage you to watch if you watch the movie, but it's called Gladiator 2, right? Going into the Roman Empire, going into the 5 kings, right? And how Jake had a major role. Watch that movie if you haven't watched that movie. Watch that review. But we have to understand what Imperial Rome, the time period during Imperial Rome, and how our people lived during that time as well. Let me actually get a preset. Pull up this window real quick. Right, it's a lot of history dealing with Empire. Let me know if you can see my screen, King. Okay.
I can see it.
Right. We go to Job chapter 8 and verse 8, and we get this precept every single time. Right, understanding how let's just ask the previous generation, pay attention to the experience of our ancestors. So we all know that America is the Roman Empire, right? We know America is Rome all over again, but how? Why do we call America Rome? Why do we call this country the Roman Empire all over again? What happened during the experience of our ancestors that are we experiencing right now? What are some of the similarities? Right? What are some of the similarities, the commonalities, the differences? Because once we pay attention to the experience of our ancestors, it's going to kind of help us understand this place is Rome all over again, and we're going to see how we're going to see what America has. We're going to see people ruling the American Jake Thomas America. We experience is going to dash what our
So, right, like so-called, I believe that people within the empire, is separate within empire, like the brother said, or even others. Just to show that quick, because in the kingdom, Caesar, which is he was a part of the Israelites. So this is verse 1. There was a in Caesarea. Caesarea is, you say what?
I said,
Caesarea is a part of Northern Kingdom. It's one of the cities up there. It says called Cornelius, a centurion of the band called the Italian band, a devout man, and one that feared God with all his house, which gave much alms to the people and prayed to God always. So this man was on fire. Yet he was a part of one of Rome's chief officers, and he had that high position. Even certain Pharisees, we go into the Pharisees and these different sects that the Jews had. The Pharisees was one of the part of the highest sects of the Jews. Or when you go into the transitional period with the Hasmonean dynasty and the Herodians, right? The Herodians, the so-called white man, he was, he had chief positions within the Roman Empire. Yet you had Jake that still mingled with the Herodians. So that shows how you had the so-called black man that actually had high positions within the Roman Empire. I want to get that real quick as well. I believe that's Romans chapter 16, if I'm not mistaken. Romans chapter 16 and verse. I gotta find that precept. He was a part of the house, right, of Herod, if I'm not mistaken. I gotta find that precept. I'm gonna have to find that later. All right, but you had a Jake when you read the book of Romans. He was a part of one of the Herodians. Let me see. Come back to that, but that does show how again you have our people in very high positions during that time, and that's nothing new. Right? You had Joseph. Joseph was second commander of Egypt. Daniel was the first black president. Nehemiah was the king's cupbearer. And Esther, you read about Mordecai. Mordecai, he had a very high position. All right, to where he even was able to give out a decree to have certain nations killed for trying to make a conspiracy against his own people. So when we read about, Roman Empire and all these different empires, best believe that the so-called black and Hispanic man was always somewhere in the midst throughout the historical time period. Literally in every empire, most likely every dynasty, is a Jake somewhere in the midst. And that goes back to prophecy, Deuteronomy 28 and verse 25. We shall be scattered into all kingdoms of the earth. Flee 7 ways. Deuteronomy 28 and 64. I was scattered into every kingdom. But I just want to make that quick point.
Yeah, Shalak, let me pull this back up real quick.
It's like the brother said the audio is choppy.
He said the audio is choppy.
Yeah.
Can you hear it now? Or can brothers and sisters hear it now? Let's see. Can you what about now? I'm trying to see if the audio is good now. He said very choppy. I wonder if it's on my end or is it your end. Is it my end or your end? Pull this up real quick. Make sure. Is the audio still choppy? We'll make sure this lead. Let me see. Calm, but still choppy. Okay.
Both of yes.
Satan, man. It's a little bit, but yeah. Let me see something. Kind of edited the. He said both through the spirit. I edited the sound on my end. I don't know if that helped a little bit. Lord willing, just kind of still hear, kind of still see, the edification that's being brought out as well. Yeah, it's always something. Try saying something. See if it's still choppy on your end. You hear me? I think he froze. Can brothers hear me? Can y'all hear me through the spirit? I think the brother froze. See if I can still hear me through the spirit. The brother froze. Let me know if y'all can still hear me through the spirit. Let me know if y'all can still hear me. I'm in the chat, see if y'all can hear me, y'all can see me. Right, Lamar said false prophets, only one body. Dallas talks truth. Plus white man ain't devil. Okay, Lamar, if you want to come to 230 East Randolph Street, right, 230 East Randolph Street, we'll be out there Friday at 6, Saturday at 3. Right, and we can definitely talk about it one-on-one instead of a comment on a live at 9:30 a.m. Sunday morning. Right, we can definitely talk about it. Hit the email w5chicago144@gmail.com and we can set something up, and then you can kind of prove your cause. But until then, I'm gonna put you in timeout. I'm gonna delete your comment until you decide to be a man and talk to us about it face to face. Okay, Con. Say can. Brother said he can't hear me on the live. Brothers hear me on the live now. Okay, all praises, Lamar. We definitely look forward to seeing you out there. It's cold outside of Chicago, so get your mittens, get your gloves. We're gonna be out there for a while because we love to teach doctrine. Don't get too cold and go inside, but stay out there and talk to us about it as long as you can. And we understand if you can't. A lot of our opponents say the same thing. Kind, I can hear you, but it's still choppy. Okay. Well, Lord willing, if you can hear me, clear enough, Lord willing, the edification will still go out. Lord willing, the edification still goes out through the spirit. But come on, we're gonna get into it. And if it gets too bad, let me know. Kind of reading the comments on the comment board. If it gets too bad, let me know, and I kind of see what I can do to adjust. But if you can still hear me, I know it's choppy. If you can, Lord willing, do your best to understand through the spirit. That'll be mighty. All right, that'll be definitely mighty. I don't know why the sound is so choppy. All right, let me go back to this real quick. Let me go back to this real quick. Right. Well, yeah, until then, Lamar, pay attention to the life, learn some history, right? Make your day profitable. All praise to Yahweh, shooting y'all shot. It's bad choppy. Okay. That's Satan. That's definitely Satan. That's definitely Satan. All right, let me know. Okay. Okay, Con. I'm adjusting some audio. We're trying to make this edification go out the best way possible. Or we're adjusting audio. You know, we're doing what we can through the spirit. We're doing what we can through the spirit to make sure this edification goes out very, very smoothly. We may have to restart this and come back to this. We may have to restart this and come back to this. Is it smooth now? Do I got to speak up a little bit? Is it still choppy? If it is, then we may have to restart the live through the spirit. And if that is the case, that's okay. That's okay. We definitely will do that. Let me know. La, you good? Kalena. All praise. All praises to Yahweh Bashim Yahusha. Right, what else? We need a second and third witness. We need a second and third witness. What's going on? Are we great? And brothers and sisters, hear me. Can the edification go out smoothly, or is Satan still knocking at that door? What's going on? Well, I know Joshua Maccabee said we can. All right, Haran said we can hear you. All right, all praise to y'all by Shimon Shah. All right, till Makwas gets back in here, we're gonna bring out this edification. You know. All right, brother down there is better now. All right, W5 technicalities, man. We had to kind of get in there, you know, play with some buttons, play with the audio a little bit, you know. All praises choppy, but we can hear you. Can you read? All right, Con. All right, Con. You know, just bear with me. You know, bear with brothers. You know, as we bring out this edification. All right, as we bring out this edification. Right. So let me pull this up real quick. All right, let me pull this up real quick. So Esau wants you to think that this was you. All right, Esau wants you to think that this was you, right, during the Roman Empire. Right, this was you during the Roman Empire, and you were colonized. Right, you were just all throughout Africa, swinging from trees. That was it. No, you had, like the brother said, you had Jake all throughout every ancient civilization. You were in high positions. Right, you were in high positions. You wasn't swinging from trees. You know, you weren't eating bananas, swinging from trees, just not knowing what's going on. You know, just doing this. Esau wants you to think that you were just doing this all day, 24 hours straight, swinging around, just hanging on to damn branches, almost falling off. You were in high positions, man. You know, brother Makwa said he backstage. Khan. All right, Khan. Say something, Makwa. Let's see if we can hear you.
Shalom.
Con, can you hear the brother? Let me know if you can kind of hear the brother. Let's see. Lord willing, you can hear the brother. You can hear myself. I know it's choppy, but Lord willing, you can bear with it. You know, we working on getting some faster Wi-Fi. It's in the works. It's in the works. We're increasing hours at our job. We're trying to get some faster Wi-Fi. You know, we're working all these extra overtime hours, trying to get some of that good Wi-Fi.
See that?
Yeah. Okay, Khan, they said they can hear you, King.
All praise to the Most High.
All praise. Until we get the good Wi-Fi, just, you know, just kind of bear with it, you know. But all praise to the Most High. So, as I was going into, King, they want us to think that we were just swinging from trees. You know, we weren't swinging from trees. We were in high positions. We were in high positions during the Roman Empire. You know, and we weren't just anybody's during the Roman Empire. I mean, we were, especially the saints of God. Let me go to the book of Acts, chapter 11. I mean, the word Christian actually comes from during the time of the Roman Empire. Let me go to Acts chapter 11 and verse 26. And it says, and when he had found him, he brought him unto Antioch, and it came to pass that a whole year they assembled themselves with the church and taught much people. And the disciples were called Christians first in Antioch. So the word even Christians, oh, I'm a Christian. Yeah, I'm a Christian. I follow Christ. That whole concept actually comes from the disciples being called Christians in Antioch. And that was a derogatory term towards the disciples. That wasn't a term to be delighted of. The disciples weren't going around saying, oh, yes, I'm a Christian. I'm a devout Christian, you know, following Christ. No, it was a derogatory term used towards them. But that happened first in Antioch during the Roman Empire. You know, the disciples, you go to Acts chapter 13. If you didn't know, and we bring this out we bring this out during camp to let Jake know, right? It says there were in the church that was at Antioch certain prophets and teachers as Barnabas the Simeon that was called Niger or nigger, right? Nigger is derived from this term, right? Niger. Oh, well, that's just the country in Africa. Well, the country Niger in Africa didn't exist yet. So what does this mean? And Lucius the Cyrene. So Lucius was called this. And Manaen was called this, which had been brought up with Herod, the tetrarch, and Saul. So let's go into this word.
Salaki, that was actually the precept I was looking for too.
Okay, Khan. That's the all praises.
That's weird.
Right? Niger means black. So our fathers were called black. Let me know if you can hear this, King. Can you hear that? Okay, we said Strong's 35G, 3526, nigger. That's what exactly you said. Right? I'm repeating it. If you couldn't hear it, I'm repeating it. Right? So it literally means black or what they call you today. You know, when the Edomite gets mad, they're calling you something from Acts 13:1. Right? They're calling you something from Acts 13:1, which is the same word they called our fathers. When you get this in the NLT, it's going to tell you what? Acts 13:1, among the prophets and teachers of the church of Antioch of Syria were Barnabas, Simon, called the black man. Uh-oh. I thought they were swinging from trees. I thought they was here during the Roman Empire. But why do you have certain men like Simon or Simeon called the black man? Lucius from Cyrene, Menaean, a child and companion of King Herod Antipas, and Saul. So Menaean, Lucius, Simon, Barnabas, all were called the black man. You see that? So we have history in the Roman Empire. You got it.
Yeah, that's right. You know, we can actually pull up the I don't know if you got into the links already. Yeah, Con, you can pull up the first link there through the spirit.
Con, I was going to how we weren't swinging from trees.
Yeah, Con. All right, so this is Imperial Rome. Right, so last week we went into the Roman Republic. The Roman Republic was based off a Senate house where they had no hierarchy when it comes to a form of, you know, one ruler that called the shots. All right, so when you go into the Roman Republic, I believe it was from around the 6th century or the 5th century all the way up to 27 BC. So throughout that whole time, all right, the state of Rome, they had no king, they had no chief ruler, they had a bunch of men that kind of came together and made judgment as a whole. And that actually goes back to the prophecy of Daniel the 2nd chapter, how divided the empires get as each metal, you know, goes down. If you haven't read Daniel the 2nd chapter, you know, read Daniel the 2nd chapter. We can actually pull it up real quick. Daniel the 2nd chapter, again, is going into this statue that the dream of Nebuchadnezzar had. Daniel was breaking down this statue, and each kingdom represents a specific metal and a body part of this statue. So let's go to Daniel chapter 2, and we can jump down to a verse where I talk about Rome. Daniel 2 and verse number, let me see where I'm going to start. We can start at verse 33. All right, Daniel chapter 2 and verse number 33. I'm going to start at verse 31 to get the whole context, right? It says, "Thou, O king." So mind you, Daniel 2 and 31 is the dream that Nebuchadnezzar had concerning his kingdom falling and other nations coming after him. Daniel 2 and verse 31. "Thou, O king, sawest, and behold, a great image. This great image, whose brightness was excellent, stood before thee, and the form thereof was terrible. This image head was of fine gold, and the breast and his arms of silver, and his belly and his thighs of brass, his legs of iron, his feet part iron and part clay." So we go into this image, and Daniel breaks it down, jumping down to verse number, let me see, jumping down to verse 39. That metal of iron, his feet being iron, that's talking about the Roman Empire. Because when you break down a statue, the farther down you go, the stronger the metal gets, meaning the stronger the military force that these kingdoms have, considering that they overcame each other, but the more divided are the body parts. For example, Nebuchadnezzar, he was the head of gold. Gold is a very precious metal. All right, but that metal is not as strong. So they end up getting broken off. And Nebuchadnezzar, he was that head because he was that chief ruler at that time. He called all the shots. You get all the way down to the iron. Iron is a stronger metal, but it's compared to with the legs. Why? Because your legs are divided. It's not like your head. That's on one, just on your shoulders. That's one. Your legs are divided like the Roman Empire, how they was divided. And you see the division of the Senate house and all these different emperors when we go into it on how divided that these kingdoms were. So reading verse 39, it says, "After thee shall arise another kingdom, inferior to thee, and another third kingdom of brass, which shall be a rule over the earth. And the fourth kingdom shall be strong as iron." This fourth kingdom is talking about the Romans. "For as much as iron breaketh in pieces and subdueth all things, and as iron that breaketh all these, shall it be broken in pieces." And that's prophesied. That's talking about the Roman Empire. The Roman Empire is strong as iron, It broke down all nations. You can go into the images, low one, we can go into it, about the mass expansion of the Roman Empire, but yet they got broken down through their division. We're going to go into how Rome actually fell. Because Rome, out of all the kingdoms, all right, Rome, everyone thought Rome would continue forever. All right, Rome started, from the Roman Republic all the way during around the 4th century, and Rome fell, the Eastern Roman Empire fell all the way in around the 1300s AD. So that's a very, very, very long rulership for one kingdom to have. So everyone thought Rome was gonna last forever and be this great kingdom that never failed. But as we see according to prophecy, Rome, it did eventually fall. And we're gonna touch on how Rome failed. But nevertheless, we can go back to that article. Right. So before you had the Imperial Rome, you had the Roman Republic. And it says Imperial Rome describes the period of the Roman Empire from 27 BC to 476, following Julius Caesar's assassination, right? Because Julius Caesar was the first dictator. He was the first so-called dictator over Rome. After Rome had their so-called republic and how so-called strong it was, it eventually fell, and Julius Caesar set himself up to be the first dictator over Rome. But he ended up getting assassinated. It says, which ultimately led to Rome's time as a republic. It says, at its height, in 117 CE, Rome controlled all the land from Western Europe to the Middle East. All right, and then you got Caesar Augustus right there. So you can scroll down a little bit. All right, I'm going to read those first two paragraphs. It says, Imperial Rome describes the period of the Roman Empire from 27 BC to 476 CE. At its height in 117 CE, Rome controlled all the land from Western Europe to the so-called Middle East. It says the first Roman emperor was Augustus Caesar. So after Julius Caesar died, you had certain people of his family, like Augustus Caesar, who was his great nephew. They took on that name as a Caesar, as an emperor, as a Roman ruler. Why? Because again, Julius Caesar, he was the first dictator of Rome after the Republic fell. After him, his part of his family, like Augustus Caesar, ended up taking on that name of Caesars. That's why you have so many so-called Caesars now. All right, it's not a coincidence, they all just named their name Caesar, and no, they got that from the so-called forefather, Julius Caesar. So it says, I'm gonna read that again. The first Roman emperor was Augustus Caesar. So he was the first emperor after Julius Caesar, who was a dictator, who came to power after the assassination of Julius Caesar. And we go into the death of Julius Caesar. I mean, he got it bad. And the so-called white man is so wicked and he's so bloodthirsty for power. They kind of conspired against him. And all these Senate men, all these so-called holy Senate men, they came together on one accord, and I believe they said they stabbed him to death over 20 times. So they end up stabbing him. They murdered this man in cold blood, all for power and ruler and dictatorship and lust for money and fame and things of that nature. It says his great uncle Augustus helped restore the city of Rome and secured its frontiers during his reign. He also reformed the laws. He also reformed laws and initiated large building projects within the imperial capital. After his death, his successors continued pushing Rome's frontiers further. However, a period of unrest followed, which caused the empire's development to be temporarily stalled. All right, but you got it. So that's the beginning. Real quick. That's the beginning of the so-called Imperial Rome. That's the start of it. All right, it starts with Julius Caesar, and then Augustus Caesar starting to kick things off from there on. And you read about these men in the Bible as well. All right, I actually want to get that quick precept. My bad. I just want to get that quick precept in Acts. In Luke 2 and verse number 1. Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. This goes back to the point that we made earlier, is that you always had Jake somewhere in the midst. All right, you always had Jake in the midst. So this is the book of Acts, chapter 2. Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. And it came to pass in those days that there went out a decree from Caesar Augustus that all the world should be taxed. So, and guess who was complaining about this taxation? The Israelites. So you had Jews, so-called black men, that actually has in their own records about Caesar Augustus coming into power. Israelites was already in Rome, in Israel, in Jerusalem, in all these different provinces. But the thing is, again, in school, they would never tell you this. They would never tell you that the so-called black man. That's what Acts 5 is about. All right, let's go to Acts 5 real quick. Verse 30, verse 33. Let's go to Acts 5 real quick, verse 33. So when you read about that taxation that Caesar Augustus put out, you have rebellions led by so-called black men to go against that. It's the book of Acts chapter 5 and verse, I'm going to start at verse 37. Right, Acts 5 and verse 37. It says, after this man rose up Judas, of Galilee in the days of the taxing. So you had this man Judas of Galilee who rose up in the days of the taxing to rebel against the Roman, to rebel against Imperial Rome. But in school, in college, when you go in there, you paying all this money to learn about, your so-called history, these HBCUs, and paying all this much money for these historian classes, they're only going to teach what their people was a part of. They're not going to teach you where you was at, how you led rebellions, and how you killed the so-called white man, and how you did these different things. So, Jake, you was in this thing. As we're going through this, right, and like we said earlier, we're going to keep saying it, you had Israelites, so-called black and Hispanic men, all throughout every nation's history. Reading on. It says, and drew away much people after him. He also perished, and all, even as many as obeyed him, were dispersed. So he tried to lead this rebellion on the left-hand side because of the taxation, but the Lord kind of overthrew that. All right. So as we're going into Caesar Augustus, these are the things and the taxations and the rebellions that's going on during the time of Caesar Augustus, which is why it said that the building kind of stalled when it came to Rome, because you had a lot of Israelites and other nations that rebelled against Rome and their rulership. All right, but you got
it. That's exactly right. No, that's exactly right. And you can go into the scriptures, and as we see, we're proving these things out the scriptures that you can clearly see. The Roman Empire was prophesied in the book of Second. There's heavy prophecies going into the Roman Empire that we went into kind of last week or 2 weeks ago, dealing with the Roman Republic. Let's go to Second Ezra. All right, let's go to Second Ezra chapter 11. All right, Second Ezra chapter 11. Second Ezra is one of those prophecies, that can be a little bit more difficult to break down because it's dealing with a lot of the kings, and a lot of the Caesars and a lot of the dark and Middle Age history. You can read Second Ezra chapter 12 too to kind of help break down Second Ezra chapter 11 through the Spirit. But you can see these things in the scriptures, right? You can see iconic names like Julius Caesar or Augustus. You got Claudius. I know if you have the KJV 1611, you can actually see, I believe in what 2 Timothy, the 4th chapter, at the end of the 4th chapter, you can see the name Claudius there, whom Paul was beheaded by. Nero, not Claudius, Nero, whom Paul was beheaded by. You can see the Caesar that killed James, the brother of our Lord, with the sword. So you can go into the scriptures and you can see these iconic and historic names that you will see in Esau's history or his history books. And you can kind of say, well, hold on, that links up with, where, with us. So these things can't be hidden no more once we go into it, right? This is the book of 2nd Ezra, chapter 11 and verse 14. And it says, and it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also like as the first, so I appear no more. I start at verse 13. I start at verse 12. And it says, and I looked, and behold, on the right side there rose one feather and rained on all the earth. That's talking about Julius Caesar. That first feather out of that 8 feathers was Julius Caesar. He reigned over all the earth, right? We can go into it. Him and his political battles with Pompey. He kind of unified the army during that time to kind of be over it, so he can be over them with one consent, and he overthrew Pompey, right? And he reigned. He was a dictator, the first so-called dictator. Verse 13. And so it was that when it rained, the end of it came, and the place thereof appeared no more, right? Because he was killed as a brother went into. So the next following stood up and reigned and had a great time. Who's that Caesar that reigned and had a great time? A 40-year reign. That's Augustus. He reigned during the time of Yahushua. We just brought it out in Luke chapter 2 and verse 1. And so it happened that when it rained, the end of it came also like as the first of that appeared no more. And then after that, you had Tiberius. After Tiberius, and then it kept going down the line through those 8 feathers. And then you had 2 contrary feathers. You had a lot of Caesars that ruled, but right now we're touching on the first few during the Roman Empire, right? We can go back into the article.
That's all I had on that article specifically.
To
touch on something.
So let me actually get this real quick. Right. Let's get this real quick. So we know that the Roman Republic, was from around 550 BCE to around 27 BCE. After that, the Roman Republic transitioned to an empire 27 BC to 476 CE, Common Era, the Western Roman Empire, or what we know as Imperial Rome. Now, let me get this map. Let me know if you can see this map, King.
Yeah.
So the Western Roman Empire, right? This used to just all be one empire, but it broke into 2, right? It broke into 2. You had the Western Roman Empire that fell in 476 CE, and then you had the Eastern or the Byzantine Empire, which Jake was ruling all throughout the Byzantine Empire, right? Eventually all over, right? Even to the Western Roman Empire, even after it fell. Right, you had Jews all in Spain, you had Jews in Italy, you had Jews all over the place, man. Right, but chiefly the Eastern Roman Empire. So this is kind of what it looked like, right? Rome, and then the capital was changed to Constantinople under Constantine in 385 AD, which led to the decline of the Western Roman Empire, right? And you had a lot of history that took place during that time as well. But let me get this. All right. Here we go. Right. So the Roman Empire, the ancient empire, centered on the city of Rome that was established in 27 BC following the demise of the Roman Republic, which we went into 2 weeks ago. If you don't know about the Roman Republic, you can watch that live from 2 weeks ago, and it's going to kind of update you on what we were talking about. All right. Let's just jump down a little bit. Right. And it says a period of unrest and civil wars was in the 1st century BC, marked the transition of Rome from a republic to an empire. Right. This period encompassed the career of Julius Caesar, who eventually took full power of Rome as his dictator, right? Because all the civil unrest that was going on. Once you go into the laws of the Senate, once war happens, they need to have a president or a representative for at least 6 months, and that person is allowed to be a dictator. Julius Caesar was the first person to be a dictator longer than 6 months, which he became obviously the first ruler. Right. It says after his assassination of 44 BCE, the triumvirate of Mark Antony. If you know about Mark Antony, he helped transition during the Hasmonean dynasty with Alexander with Judas Maccabees and his brethren. He helped the transition from them going to the first Herod over Jerusalem, right? And kind of transitioned that to the Esau. And it says Lepidus and Octavian, which is Augustus, Caesar's nephew, ruled. It was not long before Octavian went to war against Antony in northern Africa, and after his victory at Actium, he was crowned Rome's first emperor, Augustus. His reign from 27 BCE to 14 CE was distinguished by stability and peace, and Yahushua lived during this time. Yahushua lived during this time, and the disciples, right? It says Augustus established a form of government known as the Principate, which combines some elements from the Republic with the traditional powers of a monarchy. The Senate still functioned through Augustus as princeps or first citizen remained in control of the government. So it's kind of like the American government now. You had a man that represented the American government, but he also had to listen to the Senate. He also had to listen to the voice of others, and they can veto, they can say no, they can say we're not doing that. It's kind of the same spirit as the president to this day, right? And it says with a mind toward maintaining the structure of power entrusted to his rule, Augustus began thinking about early who should follow him, right? Who's going to be his successor? Death played havoc with his attempts to select his successor. He had no son. His nephew, his son-in-law Agrippa, and his grandsons Gaius and Lucius each predeceased him. Damn, they all died. That rise for power was a no joke. His son-in-law, his nephew, and his grandsons died for power. That's crazy. He eventually chose Tiberius, a scion of the ultra aristocrat Claudius Gens, and 4 CE adopted him as his son. So it got so bad that he had to adopt him as his son because all of his other predecessors died. Yeah, that's crazy.
That's Esau for you.
That's Esau. Them killing each other for power, man. Even his grandsons was like, destroying each other. So he had to adopt a son named Tiberius, so he can, so he can rule. Let me get that real quick in Luke 3:1. Let me see if that's in Luke chapter 3. Right, here we go. All right, so this is during the time of Yahushua. These are real names. Luke chapter 3:1. Now in the 15th year of the reign of Tiberius Caesar, so 15 years after Tiberius was chosen as Caesar, right? Let's do some math. So Tiberius reigned from 14 to 37 Common Era or CE or AD. So 15 years after that will be 31 CE. Right? No. Yup. 31 CE. Am I wrong? Marcos, you want to double check me? See if I'm off.
It's like adding it.
Let's 14 plus 15. That's 31, right?
Yeah, Con.
Yeah, all right, Con. I'm tired. So I don't want to mess up these dates. Right? So around 31 CE. Now we put in dates together with the scriptures. So when you bring out this precept, you can say, you know what? And now in the 15th year of the reign Tiberius Caesar, around 31 Common Era, Pontius Pilate being governor of Judea, like in Herod being tetrarch of Galilee, and his brother Philip, tetrarch of Iturea, and of the region of Trachonitis, and Licinius, the tetrarch of Abilene, Annas and Caiaphas being the high priest, the word of God came unto John, the son of Zacharias in the wilderness. So around 31 AD, the word of the Lord came to John, the son of Zacharias in the wilderness. Now we can put a date on it. Now we know who was ruling these regions around this time. Now we're
29.
29, Slocky. I was two off. The water, Black Atoya. The water, Black Atoya. All praise to the Most High for that correction. Right? So around 29 to 30, common era, we can see who is the governor of Judea. We can see who is the tetrarch of Galilee. Right? We can see who is ruling Tiberius. And we can see when the word of God came to John the Baptist, right? The son of Zacharias, Yahushua's cousin. Right. So we can put a date on this now. Now this validates the scripture a lot more. That's why we got to go into the history. Right. I'm gonna read on this. So it says Tiberius becoming the first successor in the Julio-Claudian dynasty and ruled as an able administrator but cruel tyrant. His great nephew Caligula, right, from 37 to 41, reigned as an abolitionist. His short reign filled with reckless spending, callous murders, and humiliation of the Senate. Right, Claudius centralized state finances in the imperial household, thus making rapid strides in organizing the imperial bureaucracy, but was ruthless toward the senators and equites. So this man Claudius was a demon. That's all it said. This man Claudius was a demon, man. This man Claudius was reckless spending, right? Probably spending on harlots, right? Just dallying, just wine, just oils, and just killing off the saints, killing these men that just didn't agree with him. Humiliation of the Senate. His own men didn't really want to stand with him. So Claudius, we can see he wasn't a good leader. He was not a good leader, and he kicked that off. Let's get an example. Of his callous murders in the Bible, because we always got to go back to the Bible. Let's go to Acts chapter 12. Let's see what he did to James, the brother of our Lord. This is Acts chapter 12 and 1. Now about that time, Herod the king stretched forth his hand to vex certain of the church. Right? And this is under Claudius's dynasty, right? And he killed the brother of John with the sword. He killed James, the brother of John, with the sword. So he allowed that to happen. Right? And it says, and because he saw it pleased the Jews, he proceeded to further take Peter also. Then were the days of unleavened bread. Right? So when we look at this and we say, okay, well, Herod, he stretched forth his hands to vex the church. Who was the Caesar during this time? Right? Who was that man that ruled, that allowed these callous murders to happen during this time? And when you go into it, it was this guy, Caligula, who allowed these callous murders to happen under his regime. So we now we're putting dates on it, and now we're kind of seeing who was ruling during what time to kind of help, establish the scriptures. I'm gonna read on this. Actually, let me jump down a little bit. See that? Now my thing is freezing. Get out of here, Satan.
I got a quick point too. And you also got a book called Fox's Book of Martyrs, and it goes into the many persecutions that the Roman Church had against the Christians, as we know, the Israelites. So you go into this book, right, and it has many accounts, many witnesses on what happened to the 12 apostles, from Matthew, but from Matthew to Peter and James, John, Andrew, Matthias. It goes into, again, the persecution and their accounts of what happened to each brother. And not only what happened to the 12 apostles, but the persecution leading on up to 70 AD, the persecution preceding 70 AD. It goes into the fire of Rome, that was caused by Nero. You know, so if you don't got this book, then it's a good book to go into. It goes into how certain emperors like Domitian, a lot of different emperors, how they had their hand with the persecution of the so-called Black and Hispanic man that was doing work of the Lord.
Wait, show it again, King.
All right, I don't know if it's okay. Yeah, that's kind of better. All right, so this is a good book to go into. Again, it goes into the martyrdom, right, of the Israelites, the Jews, not just any Jews, but the ones that was fervent in doing the work. Right, all throughout the Roman history, it goes into how Matthew was killed in Ethiopia unjustly for doing the work. How Timothy was martyred, how he got beat to death and died 2 days later. It has all the accounts, and then all this happened under what, the Roman Empire. So I just want to bring that quick point out. Lord, I might pull some as the lesson go on. Nevertheless, it is a lot of good information that's in this book. It goes into the different persecutions and different land masses that the Israelites were in, which is a cut to show that we were in, Persia, Spain, all right, Germany, etc. So, you want to most definitely get into that history of the martyrdom, and just know, it wasn't just the 12 apostles, and then John that got sent to the island of Patmos. It was more than just, a couple men here and a couple men. No, this persecution overtook the Roman Empire. And this just us doing the work was actually one of the chief downfalls of the Roman Empire. And Lord willing, like I said, gonna go into that as the lesson continues, through the Spirit. You ever had Israelites being persecuted in Persia for doing the work? So you most definitely want to. I just wanted to bring the point out.
And you have a lot of you had a lot of martyrs during the Roman Empire, like the brothers said. Like you had, let's go to Revelation chapter 2 and 13. All right, let's go to Revelation chapter 2. Let's start at verse number 13. I start at verse 12. And to the angel of the church of Pergamos, right? Talking to the church of Pergamos, these things saith he that which hath the sword of two edges. I know thy works and where thou dwellest, even where Satan's seat is. Where is Satan's seat? Satan's seat is the Roman Empire. That is Satan's seat, the chief city. And thou holdest fast my name, and has not denied my faith. And in those days wherein Antipas was my faithful martyr, who was slain among you where Satan dwelleth. So Antipas was a martyr during the Roman Empire. He was killed. If you don't know about Antipas, we can go into him a little bit deeper. I'm going to touch on him a little bit. You got the 40 martyrs of Sebaste. If you don't know who the 40 martyrs of Sebaste is, I adjure you to look into that. These are martyrs during the Roman Empire, man. All we know that James, the brother John, was killed with the sword, as we brought up in Acts chapter 12. But you had a lot of martyrs during the Roman Empire, and i.e., you got Antipas, right? Let me go to the book. Actually, let me pull this up real quick. So Antipas, right? Kind of pull this up. I'm just gonna go back. Go back real quick. All right, Khan. Let me get this real quick. So Antipas, he died for the Lord. He was actually a church leader at Pergamum, right? He was a church leader. You go into the history. I just did a quick Google search. He was actually killed in a brazen bull, right? And of course, they're gonna try to personify him as an Edomite, but he was a Jake, man. He was killed in a brazen bull. If not, that's cool too. But he was killed in a brazen bull. And when you go into it, these are one of the torture tactics of Esau. That bull would heat up from underneath, and it would let out a sound as if the time a noise will come out from the nose of the bull, and it would sound like an actual bull. And this is how our forefather Antipas, the church leader of Pergamum, Pergamos, died, man, for the name of the Roman Empire. So we can go into the scriptures to see, remember, America is Rome all over again, right? America is Rome all over again. So these things will happen again. But let's go back. I'm gonna go back into this article a little bit, unless you have something. Right, dynasty reigned from 69 to 79. Right, and if you know about the Flavian dynasty, they're pretty bad. Again, Satan doing it again. The sound. Let me know if you can hear me. Let me know if you can hear me. Sound check. Can you hear me okay? This sound started jamming up. We're about to start talking about the siege of Jerusalem. The sound started jamming up. All right, Khan. Ancients knew, why don't we? Okay, Khan. I think we better. I think I just gotta project my voice a little bit more. I think I gotta, start speaking over these demons. Right, but around this time is when the siege of Jerusalem happened, 70 AD, right, from 68 to 73 AD, during the Flavian dynasty. And now what this man did, he reorganized the army, making them more loyal and professional. And his expansion of the membership of the Senate, he brought in administrators with a sense of service. He increased in systemization and taxation and strengthened the frontiers of the army, right? Though little new territories added, right? The brief but popular reign of his son Titus, autocracy of Domitian. Vespasian's other son, who fought the senatorial class and instituted taxes and confiscations for costly buildings, games, and shows, a reign of terror in his final years was ended by assassination. The Flavian dynasty, like the Judah Claudian, ended with the emperor whose memory was officially damned. So during the Flavian dynasty, this is kind of when Jerusalem followed after that, like Domitian, and other men that followed during that line. The Flavian dynasty, Nero. Right, let's actually get that man Nero. He was during the Flavian dynasty. That's kind of all I had on that article. What is 2 Timothy? Let me see if it pulls up, because it's kind of like in the footnotes. Let me see. Yeah, see, it's kind of like in the footnotes. Here we go. Can you see this? Go all the way down. And you look at the footnotes, it's going to tell you who is ruling. And it says, the second epistle unto Timothy, ordained bishop of the church of the Indians. Right? So Timothy, the bishop of the church of the was written from Rome when Paul was the second time. When Paul was for Nero the second time, Nero during this time. Paul was brought before Nero this time. So you're going to see scriptures, these different references of the rulers rule. You got it.
I actually asked him, I was send it to you, but it ain't really sending through. But it's kind of not too. But until it do, no, we a few, but dates that they run namely the certain biblical name may recognize over. You can let's see. Wait, that's what it was. Scroll down a little bit. Okay, there it is. Right, list of the emperors. So this is a list of the Roman emperors, right? So of course you got Augustus, as we went over. After Augustus, you had Tiberius. Now Tiberius was off. All right, Tiberius, he had I believe he had like a sex island. So Tiberius, he had his own little freak off island, and I believe Netflix they got a show called Roman Emperors. It's like a documentary on each Roman emperor, right? Or a lot of the Roman emperors, I should say, not each one, because there's a lot of Roman emperors. But on the beginning Roman emperors, they kind of do a good job at documenting each Roman emperor and what they went into and how the cities, how the citizens looked at them as a ruler and things of that nature. And it touches on Tiberius on how he had a freak off island, you know, and all he wanted to do all day was escape to that island and freak off. So, and he also caused a big uproar amongst the people because a lot of the people they didn't like Tiberius. He was real paranoid. So, you know, this is a bad emperor. All of them are bad emperors, but he was a terrible emperor for the people. You got Slack, you got Caligula, yeah, Claudius. You can scroll down a little bit. Yeah, Caligula. Right, and these names, as we just went over, these are a couple names that we see, you know, in the Bible. Yeah, Nero. Right, I sent it to your email. I want to touch on Nero a little bit because Nero was one of the chief demons when it came to the Jews, the Israelites. All right, Nero was one of the chief demons when it came to the persecution of God's chosen people. Right, so I'm gonna bring this out real quick. I just sent it to you.
You say you emailed it?
Yeah.
Okay.
As we read, Nero was the one that beheaded Paul. All right. Paul was fervent. You read about Paul coming to this thing on fire in Acts the 9th chapter and how he was set up over certain churches and how he did the work, how the Lord came unto him. And Paul was a very fervent man. He set up Timothy, set up Titus, you know, and guess who took him out? Nero. And Nero, his hands wasn't just on Paul. Nero had his hands on a lot. So let's pull that up real quick.
I didn't get anything.
Yeah. It didn't send through?
Nah.
Okay.
Actually, yeah, I just got it. Hold
on.
Okay. Westo said the last 10 minutes was very choppy. Willina said the sound is messed up. Let me see.
Try to go back out and come back in.
Is it both of us? The brother. Let us know. I can kind of help fix the audio on my end. And last 10 minutes, that's Satan, man. All we're just trying to see, that's how you know that was Satan's seed. Satan don't want you talking about his empire like that, man. Satan don't want you to go into the history of his empire. It is the same thing. Let's see if I can fix this audio. Both. You hear me now? Can you hear me now?
Yeah, that's saying it says both of us.
Yeah. Can you hear me now? Or are we still choppy? Can you hear us now, or are we still choppy? Yeah, I think we are. Let me see something.
I had to change my mic settings.
Still choppy. Okay. Okay. Calm, but still choppy. Calm, but still choppy. The water for your patience too on the comment board. The water for your patience. We trying to get this edification out. You know, we're trying to get this edification out. But Satan sounds better though. Satan is just doing everything he can to not talk, so we can't talk about his precious Roman Empire. You know, his precious Roman Empire. Calm but delayed copy. Okay, we can go back to the article, King.
Okay, I sent you that page. So yeah, Lord willing, brothers and sisters can still hear us, man. Most I will.
Con is pulled up.
You can kind of tap on it so the screen can pop up. Okay, you might have to zoom in a little bit. Right, but again, like I said, Lord willing, brothers and sisters can hear us. They said reset the feed. I know I just changed my so-called mic. I don't know if that helped. Right. Okay, yeah, Lord willing, brothers and sisters can hear us. But again, this from the book Fox's Book of Martyrs, right? So this is page 9, all right, chapter 2. And as you see, it says the beginning of the general persecutions against the church. And it proves that the church is not is not what they say, like the Catholic Church, the universal church. This is not a universal church. Because when we go into these persecutions, the only ones that's getting persecuted are the Israelites. Proving that the church are the Israelites. Even when you go into that word church in the Greek, it's called an assembly. For the definition, the assembly of the Israelites. So when it says the persecution of the church, this is the persecution of God's chosen people. The first persecution under Emperor Nero. Now the brother went into Nero. All right, 1 Timothy 4, the 4th chapter, right under verse 22, you see, depending on which Bible you have, it may be a footnote right there showing that that was Nero that persecuted Paul. But again, Nero wasn't the only one that persecuted Paul. So it says, or Nero wasn't the only one Paul persecuted. I meant to say. It said Nero was the 6th emperor of Rome and reigned for 15 years. He was a paradox, a man of great creativity, combined with a vicious temper and extreme cruelty. That's off. What type of man wants to be known for a vicious temper and extreme cruelty? But this is the natural nature of the so-called white man. It is said by many that Nero, who ordered Rome to be burned, and then blamed it on the Christians. So you got something called the fire of Rome. And within the fire of Rome, guess what happened? You had Salakia. You had Nero, he kind of orchestrated that thing. And guess what he did? He blamed the Israelites. When it says Christians, as the brother read in Acts 11:26, Christian was a term that was given to the ones that believed on Christ and that served and that did the work in that name. This isn't the religion Christianity. It's a difference between Christianity, which is a religion that Esau came up with, and actual Christians, which means to be a follower of Christ. All right. So it said, I'm gonna read that again. It is said that by many that it was Nero who ordered Rome to be burned and then blamed it on the Christians to turn to the wrath of Rome's citizens away from himself. And Nero was such a bad emperor, he had to make a big scene. He made his whole city catch fire. And then to put the blame, to move the blame from him, he placed it on the Israelites. At this time, namely, it was the Jews, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, and the rest of the tribes that was still, left over, the remnant of the tribes. Reading on, it says, whichever way it was, Christians were blamed for the fire that lasted 9 days. Right? It says, during which the hunt for Christians increased and became a dreadful persecution that lasted for the rest of Nero's reign. So during the time of Nero, it was a manhunt for anyone that was doing the work of the Lord. And that's why also America is like unto Rome as well. Because Ecclesiastes 1:9, Ecclesiastes 3:15, this same thing that we read, it has to come back to pass. That's why you have Jacob's trouble that's prophesied of it being a great insurrection upon all those that fear the Most High. I read 2nd Esdras, the 16th chapter, verse 69 on down. We read Jeremiah 30 and verse 7, Daniel the 12th chapter. You read about great persecution. This thing, or this right here, this is before so-called 70 AD. But yet it was still great persecution even leading up. The same way as how America is going to kick off these same persecutions. Reading on in the second paragraph, it says, the barbarous acts against the Christians were worse than any they that had previously endured, especially those committed by Nero. Only a Satan-inspired imagination could have conceived them. Some Christians were sewed inside Some Christians were sewn inside skins of wild animals and torn by fierce dogs. Shirts stiff with wax were put on others, and they were then tied to poles in Nero's garden and set on fire to provide light for his parties. That's crazy. How do you think of something like that? But again, this is what Nero did to the church, man. Nero, he's the one that killed Paul. And again, this book, it goes into many martyrdoms. All right, it goes into all the 12 disciples, 12 apostles. It proceeds on the 12 apostles and goes into the 6th century AD, the 3rd century AD, and how the persecution continued all throughout the Roman Empire. So again, if you don't got this book, it is a good read. You gotta have discernment when you get to the end, to the ending, kind of, because it kind of touch on, Christianity, and religion. We kind of get to the end of it. Nevertheless, the beginning parts is most definitely accurate as well. So I just wanted to touch on that quick point dealing with Nero. It said, I gotta read that last part again. Right, that last sentence. It says, shirts stiff with wax were put on others, and they were then tied to poles in Nero's garden and set on fire to provide lights for his parties. And these times are coming back on earth, man. And that's sick. All because you want to do the work of the Lord. That's sick. But you got it.
We can go back to the article you had.
All right, so touching a little bit more on these emperors. You scroll down a little bit to the 4 emperors. So you also got something called the year of the 4 emperors. Now, the year of the 4 emperors was like a civil war, for lack of better terms, where you have 4 emperors that rule in a span of 1 year. All right, you got Goba. This is right after Nero. You got Goba, you got Otha, you got Vestilius, and you got Vespasian. All right, I believe Vespasian may be the next, but you got Goba, Otha, Vestilius, and you got Vespasian. These emperors, and you can look at the date, have very, very, very short reigns. 7 months and 7 days. All right, 3 months and 1 day. 8 months and 1 day. So all these men, we go into the history, all these men, they were at war with each other. And they was trying to get the that seat of being an emperor. Like how we went into earlier, Esau, he's bloodthirsty for power. All right, he's very bloodthirsty for power. And all these emperors, they have their own specific era or so-called dynasty. The first one that we went over, that was the Julio-Claudian dynasty from Julius Caesar to Nero. All right, that's the Julian-Claudian dynasty from Goba to Vestilius, the year of the 4 emperors. You got the Vespasian, the Flavian dynasty. You can scroll down to the Flavian dynasty. And this, if you're an Israelite, this is one of the dynasties that you must know about. All right, you don't got to know every emperor, but if you do want to know some emperors, the ones that you need to know are the ones of the Flavian dynasty, because these are the ones that expelled us out of Jerusalem, our homeland. All right, everyone should know about 70 AD. All right, everyone should know about, if you don't, you got to do your homework on 70 AD. In 70 AD, Titus and Domitian expelled the Israelites out of Jerusalem from 66 to around 70 AD. You got something called the Jewish-Roman Wars, where Esau kicked out Jake out of Rome, and from there you had that great dispersion, and that's history within itself. Nevertheless, you got the Flavian dynasty. All right, this is where you get Josephus from, because Josephus, he lived around this time. I believe he was a Levite. He was a priest. All right, he was a so-called Pharisee who cooned out and joined sides with the Flavian dynasty and named himself Flavius Josephus, if I'm not mistaken. Right? And you read about how he talked about the Lord too. He talked about Yahushua, But not to get too deep on this article, but these are just certain names that you want to know when it comes to going into the history. You don't want to just know about your own history. You want to study your enemy as well. All right, these Edomites that you see on this list, all these Edomites, they're going to be in the kingdom. So if you want to get some slaves, then you got to kind of look at this list and start doing a so-called you got to pick who you want right now. Write a list out. Start meditating terrors upon these people, because they meditated terrors upon your people. You want to get these demons in the kingdom. And when you learn about each Edomite, it should increase your hatred for Esau, just seeing that the wickedness that he's done to our people. You got so-called Thanksgiving that just passed. That wasn't the first time Esau came and persecuted us. He was persecuted us and killing us unjustly during these time periods. So Esau, he's forever had a hatred for you. That's Ezekiel the 35th chapter. So when you look at these emperors and these different heathens, you want to know you want to know these men. All right, because these are the same men that's going to be enslaved unto you in the kingdom.
All right.
That's Isaiah the 14th chapter. But you got it.
That's exactly right. So when we talking about the Roman Empire, and when we're going into these different empires, we have to understand that and obviously you want to be prophetic as well, like the brother said. You want to kind of imagine these Edomites. Hey, guess what? They can be our future slaves, man. Lord willing, we part of the elect. Lord willing, we part of the elect. We get to have some of these Edomites enslaved. But the point of the matter is, we want to know these things. We want to know who these men are. We want to know. We want to be able to bring up accounts to these men. We want to be able to bring up accounts and dates, so we can link it up with the Bible, just to help further validate the Bible in the scriptures, through the Spirit. What was 82 underscore Derek that Hispanics weren't in Rome. All right, 82 underscore Derek, prove Hispanics weren't in Rome.
All right.
Prove that. Go make a live about make a live, do a history lesson, bring up some documents, bring up some dates, some names, some sources, first, second, third primary sources, and show that Hispanics weren't in Rome. Until then, pay attention to the live. Right? So anyway, we want to make sure that we're going into we want to go into these kings, and we want to go into the history. Like, for example, you had the movie Gladiator 2. Let me pull that up real quick. All right, Gladiator 2.
And
Right.
it's like, and while you pulling that up, I want to say real quick too, and we didn't even touch on a lot on the Roman Empire. You got jakes that ruled during the Roman Empire that we didn't get to touch on, and it's slipping my mind. We talked about Macrinus. I don't know if he was a Jake in real life, but you did have certain Jakes that was part of the rebuilding of the Roman Empire.
Khan. The brother Nakam went into it. I believe he was a Jake.
Okay, Khan, see that?
Yeah, we didn't. Yeah, and we're gonna go into a lot of Jakes that ruled during the Dark Ages, during the Byzantine Empire. But you had Jake during the Western Roman Empire, all throughout the Senate.
Right.
Diocletian. I mean, Diocletian restored the damn Western Roman Empire, man, during the crisis of the 3rd century, where the Western Roman Empire almost fell. Him and his 4 brothers, man, and they cut off the noses of the statues, the Tetrarch, right? Yeah. Diocletian. That was Jake. Jake restored the Western Roman Empire. So yeah, we didn't really touch on a lot of the history. I mean, obviously, there's a lot more history to be brought out. And we, we encourage Israel to kind of continue diving deeper into these things, but we want to kind of gloss over it a little bit just so we can show these things are in the scriptures. You can find this in the Bible. You can find this in the Bible. Can you got anything else?
I'll bring a closing precept.
All
right, Khan. It's the book of I'm going to Sirach 43. All right, I'm going to Sirach 43 and verse number 30. All right, Sirach 43 and 30, and it reads, "When you glorify Yahweh, exalt him as much as he can, for even yet will he far exceed. And when ye exalt him, put forth all your strength, and be not weary, for ye can never go for enough." Right, and that's a message to you, to me, to every brother and sister watching this live, showing how we can't go far enough when it comes to serving the Most High. We got the history brothers going to. You got the code cuts. All right, if you don't know about the backup, we got a W5 backup code cuts. Our W5 backup channel. If you don't know about that, so it's a lot of ways to glorify the Most High through prayer, through studying, through edification, making body living sacrifice, and through all things. You want to make sure that you have your mind that you can never go far enough, and knowing that should push you and let you and allow you to strive to keep going hard, so you can find more ways to please your God. So I'm gonna read that again. Strike 43 and 30. We glorify Yahweh, exalt him as much as he can, right? Because you don't want to have that lukewarm, faint spirit where you've been exalting the Lord for X amount of times and X amount of years or months, and then you start relaxing. Now the Lord said as much as you can. There's no time limit for you going as hard as you can. Again, we just went over the list of these different Edomites. If you want those Edomites in captivity for what they did to your people, you got to apply this precept. I got to apply this precept. This brother got to apply this precept. So we all, got to strive to exalt the Most High and go as hard as we can if we want to receive these promises. It says, and we exalt him, put forth all your strength. Paul, he put forth all his strength, and so much to where he said he already had a crown. We read that 2 Timothy, the 4th chapter. right? He said he already had a crown. All right, Judas Maccabeus, he put forth all the strength. Mattathias, our fathers, they put forth all their strength. The Levites that stood up with Moses, our righteous fathers, they put forth all their strength to serve the Most High. How much more their descendants, which is us? It says, and we exalt him, put forth all your strength, and be not weary, for ye can never go far enough. All right, and that's one of my favorite verses. So always remind us there's no limit, man. We can always go farther. We can always do more because we can never go hard enough. But you got it.
Mighty, man. It's exactly right, man. You can never go far enough. I'm gonna pull this up real quick in Psalm chapter 15, or it's actually Psalm chapter 16.
So like it, real quick too. The brother asked a question. Do y'all got a video while the Apocrypha was taken out? The brother Yazarok, I believe he did a video on the backup W5 backup channel on that, if I'm not mistaken.
Khan, mighty brother from W5 Philly, Jersey, soldier of the Lord, man. You say you did a video on it? Oh, you might have.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, type in Cold Cuts Backup or Backup Cold Cuts channel.
I got type W5 backup channel.
Yeah, W5 backup channel. And then you, Lord willing, you can kind of type in those keywords and see if that video pops up. But yeah, that's a mighty brother out there on the East Coast soldier, man. All right, I'm gonna pull this up. This Psalms 15:8. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. And when you're going to this history, when you're going into these different books and you're going into these different times and these timelines, you're setting the Lord before you always. You want to always set the Lord before you. You want to always have the Most High guide you, man. Even let's say we get off this live, you're going, you're doing what you're going to do for the day. Always set the Lord before you when you study, and always set the Lord before you. And when the Lord's at your right hand, you're not going to be moved by doctrines. You're not going to be moved by false prophets, fallacies, heresies. You're not going to be moved by different ideologies and philosophies if you're always setting the Lord before you, because the Lord is going to show you the right way. The Lord's going to guide you. You have a lot of false doctrines out here. You got a lot of people that's just coming off their own bellies saying things, trying to use the scriptures. But, what's going to help for you to validate certain things is using the history behind it to see if these things be true or not. So I'm gonna read that again. Psalms 15:8. I have set the Lord always before me, because he is at my right hand, I shall not be moved. And you don't want to be moved in the spirit. You do not want to be moved in the spirit. But Lord willing, you guys were edified, in the Imperial Rome. I know the audio has been kind of bad. Audio's been kind of, janky, but we bring out the edification. Satan's always there. Lord willing, you tuned in. You were edified. With that, we'd like to give our praise to Yahweh, Bahashim Yahushua, Brother Zabiyallah,
Brother Marcos.
Let's say bit of mighty strong. Shalom. And a Shar New Moon as well for those, out there, man. Shar New Moon, call Allah Yahweh Bahashim Yahushua.